Now, the performance side of it's a different conversation. The quality side, that stuff's non-negotiable. I'm not going to come back and do warranty work. I hate warranty. I want to do it right once, and then I want you to call me to come and have a beer, not to come and fix something.
Welcome to the Fine Homebuilding Pro Talk podcast, a regular discussion with building industry professionals. This is Senior Editor Patrick McComb. Today I'm joined by Travis Brungardt, a high-performance builder and remodeler and part owner of Catalyst Construction in Prairie Village, Kansas. You can find the Fine Homebuilding Pro Talk podcast and the original Fine Homebuilding podcast at finehomebuilding.com/podcast. You can leave feedback and ask questions there too. Travis, thanks a million for being on the show this morning. How are you?
I'm well. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Is your family okay and everything going all right where you are?
Yeah, we're really fortunate. Here in the mighty Midwest, we tend to dodge a lot of the bullets that come to the coast. And as far as COVID, everyone's suffering that in their own way. But we're really, I don't want to say unaffected, because there has been loss of life here, and certainly I think we have like 6,000 infected. But per capita, I think our death rate's like 0.0001. So we're really very fortunate here. And my wife's employer is understanding and has allowed her to work from home. We have a couple of small children. They're happy and healthy. They have friends up the street who are kind of co-quarantining so that they can still play and have some semblance of a childhood summer. So
Sure.
We're very lucky.
Are you a native Midwesterner?
I am. I actually, in the house I'm in, the home I live in now is, I think, 9 blocks from the house I grew up in. So cool. I haven't made it very far in life. I'm still struggling.
Have you lived other places?
No, I have visited and I have traveled some. I really like Colorado. I could conceivably see myself living in Colorado or Austin or Oregon or something like that. But I really like it here. People are really nice. Everyone's generally very considerate and thoughtful. And I don't have anywhere else to be. My family's here, and outside of the brutal humidity in the summers, I really don't have too much to complain about.
I'll talk more about that later, but that always interests me because you guys have some of the highest dew points in the country, right?
It would certainly seem that way. We're lucky. We get both ends of the spectrum. Climate Zone 4, I still feel like we should be humid Climate Zone 4, but I don't think the line hits us quite right. Because we have epic dew points, and then it's not uncommon for us to have, sub-zero for a week or two in the winter. I know that won't bother you guys, but
it would bother me. It would totally bother me. How did you become a home builder, and what brought you after becoming a home builder to high performance building?
Well, the path was a little unusual. For me, my father was a policeman. He's a retired police officer. My mother was basically an accountant or an insurance actuary for a long time. So I don't have sawdust in my veins or any of that. But I did always have an interest in taking things apart and being creative as a kid. Hammering some boards together in the backyard like kids do. Legos. That's basically how I got here, Patrick. It's just Legos. In high school, we had a high school that was really, really bad at sports, which worked out great for me because I'm also terrible at sports. But we had an exceptional theater program, like nationally recognized. And when I wasn't acting, I built the sets, and I ended up finding that I really liked, following a plan and handling the material and breaking things down and building it back up with tools. Because obviously, you have to reuse those materials. So this spring set becomes the fall set and all that. So we had a great program there and some good leadership. So that's how I really got into wanting to work with my hands. How I became a builder is a little bit more circuitous than that. I was previously a photographer. So after high school, I had planned to go to college. I thought that I would become a photography teacher, but this sort of coincided with the end of film and the rise of technology, which from our previous discussion this morning, you can tell not my strength. So that was a good way to get out of photography. But I worked in construction photography for a while.
You have to tell me what that is. What is construction photography?
So before everyone had a camera in their pocket all the time on their cell phone, there was a real need on construction projects to prove that you did what you were supposed to do before you buried it in the dirt or put up the gypsum on the walls and commercial finishes, or basically, if you can envision clients from afar wanting to keep track of their projects before the internet was a thing, and I know I'm showing my age, that was really a big part of how contractors would get paid. So if you're a developer and you're in Texas and you have holdings in the Midwest, you don't want to drive up and see how the building's going. You want the guy who, you just want to get the packet of photos on the 9th every month and go, oh yeah, they've installed all the wiring, the studding's done, we're basically on to HVAC. Okay, we're good to go. The drywall's ready. Let's go. So we did. I worked for a great company, fantastic boss. One of the people formative to the way that I do business today, Eric Burnt at PTN Photo Technique. He kind of taught me the business of being in business, like how to comport yourself, how to talk to. Because I was a teenager. I was 19 when I started working for him, and I had photography was my thing in high school. Like what I was really passionate about, and so I already kind of had the technical side down, but I had the darkroom side down. I didn't have the, hey, this is how you manage people and all that. So anyway, I started working for my friend Tyson's dad, who had this photography company doing construction documentation. And I would go all over the Midwest taking pictures, aerial photographs of larger sites, meeting with architects and much higher up contractors than I should have had access to, that would walk me through these sites and say, I need you to take a picture of this. I want to get paid for this item. So it was stuff like that. And it was just it was a very special job. If there was a lot of money in it, I might have stayed with it despite my lack of technical acumen for the computer side of things.
So were you doing slides or prints for these clients?
When I started, I was shooting with a Mamiya RB67, which is a 6x7 centimeter format, and we were printing to 8x10 and shipping envelopes across the country to whoever wanted to see. And then toward the end of my career there, I was there about 5 years. We were emailing files, and I was doing video, and I begrudgingly moved into the modern era with that. But that really, I would say, bolstered my love of construction, like seeing these big jobs. Like I specifically remember this big water tower that they were building, and the very specific items that are required to basically build cylinders of concrete stacking from the ground up. And they're basically almost like a window washer rises his scaffold up the side of a building. They were rising this formwork up the sides of this thing. It was amazing, just really unique things. So that really got me excited about construction more so than photography. And about the time that I got married, I realized I needed to make more than 20 grand a year, and I wanted to buy a house and all these things. So I kind of started looking around a little bit, and I had a friend in the lighting business who said, oh, you should talk to this electrician friend of mine. And I talked to that guy, and he wanted to hire in April, but then this remodeler came in that was also a friend and said, hey, I could use someone right away if you know anyone. And then I got connected with them, and it was a really small company. So with Faltermeyer Construction, I started my remodeling career, and we basically self-performed everything. Al was the old man. He had all the relationships and the connections, and would go from job to job, shaking hands and drumming up new work. His son, Bill, had been a framer, and at the time, I think it was in his late 30s. And then I was hired on as the helper. So I got exposed to everything. I hung wallpaper in the Shawnee Civic Center for 3 weeks, which was miserable. But I also got to build cabinets and build decks and plumbing and electrical. And I mean, we didn't really sub anything out. We just pretty much did everything. So I got to learn and be exposed to all that. And we did really nice work. I mean, it's funny how lucky I am to just always stumble into these people who do things at the highest level and are happy to share. I think that's one of the things that's unique to construction, is that the people at the highest level want to bring everyone along. They want everyone else to do well. So they're happy to share their information, in my experience. I know that's probably not universal, but it's certainly been that way for me. So that's how I got into remodeling. And then after a particularly hard year remodeling, I think we laid like 5,000 square feet of floor tile, just basement after basement. My knees and back were killing me. It's like, I just can't do this anymore. I got to find a way to stay in construction and not be broken. Because I was in my 20s. I should have been, like prime.
Right.
And I got an offer. Someone, again, it's always who you know, right? a friend of a friend at a larger builder, I think the second largest builder in the city at the time, production builder, said, "Hey, we need an assistant project manager, and I think you'd be good for it if you're interested." I met with them, very rapidly accepted the position. It was a substantial increase in pay and benefits. And in my mind, I was moving on from actually breaking my body down, and I was going to, just run jobs. But I didn't do that job very long before I found out how much more efficient it is to run my own impact driver than it is to run my cell phone. I really still liked doing the work. It did give my body a chance to recover. I found yoga about that time and kind of restored all the working parts again. And after a few years with this production builder, well, you just asked me how I became a builder. That's how I became a builder. There we go. I'm tad verbose. I apologize.
And did you always have an interest in high performance building, or is that something that came later?
That is a neat path too, because after being at this production builder for several years, we were building triplexes and some custom single family homes, 2,800 square foot kind of villa style. I got the opportunity to go to some contractor licensing classes. The owner of that company was doing some, what we would consider fairly high performance stuff at the time. There were some green leanings, I guess, always toward the dollar first, but the other green was important too for him. And we were using finger jointed studs, 24 inches on center, which no one else in our market was doing. We were actually sheathing and wrapping with tie-back instead of just putting up studs and a couple straps and then putting the tie-back up. So we were really ahead of the game out here in the Midwest. We were using I-joists. I mean, those were good quality homes, but that builder gave me the opportunity to go to contractor licensing classes every year. Even though I wasn't a licensed contractor, I was working under his license and he had to have, so many hours. And so he would send us to these classes and you could pick which one you wanted to go to. And I think I got 2 4-hour sessions a year or something. So I'm going to one of these classes and it was an introduction to the building envelope, I think is what it was called. And it was taught by Mark LaLiberte. And I don't know if you guys have ever been to any of his courses. Man, that guy, he inspired me. Like I don't usually, I want to go for the technical stuff. That's why I'm going to class. I want to learn the next thing. How can I get better at this? But I've never walked out of a class like that, fired up to be a better builder, run through a wall. I'm going to change the world, get out of the way. It was, he started the class off with a quote from John Ruskin. It was out of the old Audel's Builder's Guide. He had the old 1950s, the little black book. And he read, when we build, let it, I'm sure you guys know. It was an exceptionally formative moment in my building career because I care about the environment, but it was before I had kids. So my global vision was a lot more limited. I was still pretty selfish, thinking of myself. After that class, I really felt like I had a responsibility to the world to do better. And that was kind of the first leanings. I started subscribing to Fine Homebuilding and JLC. And, I was reading the stuff that you guys have been putting out. I discovered Martin Holliday. Just the stuff that the Taunton Press has been putting into my brain for the last 20 years has totally shaped that path. But yeah, it was really Mark's kick in the pants that sent me out into the world to get better at what I do.
That's not an easy thing in the Midwestern market. You told me that things are a lot different where you are versus the coast, where much of the high performance building seems to be centered. Can you tell me how it's different, and do people come to you looking for above code projects, or do you have to convince them of that?
People are just starting to come to me for that. And I think the world is a big ship to turn. But the Midwest, I feel like, and I've never lived on the East Coast or the West Coast, so I could be completely incorrect. But my perception is that the Midwest is often late to the party. We phased out our parachute pants and boom boxes in the mid 90s. We're really excited about this internet. It's really catching on. We're not backwards folks. We tend to be very conservative and late to adopt things. We're not early adopters. And energy is,
and there's less money too. I don't think people have the luxury of spending more money on stuff than they absolutely can, right?
Yeah, the cost of living here is low, and I think that people that move from other areas to this area are shocked at what you can what you can get, but then they see their income and it is in line with that. So yeah, it's definitely that relationship too. But there's a fair amount of I guess wealthy pockets. I live in Johnson County, Kansas, which is the wealthiest county in Kansas. Right on the other side of the state line is Jackson County, Missouri, where Kansas City, Missouri, and what I consider all the great things about Missouri are. I know that people in St. Louis would fight me to the death, but there is wealth around here. It's just that I think that because you're used to paying so little for everything else, when someone says, "Yeah, I'd like to put in $2,800 of under slab insulation before we pour the basement slab, is that something you'd be interested in?" They're like, "No, my energy's super cheap. I don't need that. Let's talk about my countertops." It's the same old. Everyone has that. I think builders in every market suffer that, but certainly it looks from afar like you guys in the Northeast have a tremendous groundswell of support for high performance efforts. It would seem that most of the builders that you see from afar are already leaning that way. And with the high cost of energy and your colder winters of longer duration, it makes some sense. There's probably not a really hard push for super efficient homes in, I don't know, San Diego, where you should just have your windows open all the time.
Right.
I know California has their own code pushing on that. You know what I mean, though.
I do. Do you tell clients that, I'm sorry, I can't do the project the way you want. I do things to a different standard. And how do they accept that? Or is that not a conversation you can have? I mean, we all have to feed ourselves, right?
Yes. Yeah. We ultimately have to stay in business and make sure that all the mouths are filled, or fed rather. The way that it's gone for us has been, again, I'm extremely fortunate. We started out, we basically became builders in 2008, right after the collapse. All of the, my partner Joe and I, Joe Cook is the other half of Catalyst Construction. We were both working for that production home builder. When the market fell apart, we got laid off. We had already started Catalyst to do, side work, and we'll make a little extra money and do some fun stuff. And in like the first quarter, we were both full time, and we've never missed a day of work since. We're honest guys. We come in, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. And if we're not a good fit, then we're not a good fit. But there's always been enough clients that want that I haven't had to fight too hard to perform our standard. Now, the performance side of it's a different conversation. The quality side, that stuff's non-negotiable. I'm not going to come back and do warranty work. I hate warranty. I want to do it right once, and then I want you to call me to come and have a beer, not to come and fix something.
Yep.
So we really work hard at making sure that everything's right on the front end. We take a lot of pride in nailing our inspections the first time. We do all of our MEP in-house. Everything that we can do ourselves, we try to do ourselves to maintain that quality. But the performance side, selling that to clients, that's a much harder sell here because energy's so cheap, because we just don't have an expectation. Like, I'm trying to shift clients' mentality from, hey, I know you grew up in a house with a wet basement that leaked, was cold and full of bugs, but what I'd really love for you to do is imagine that space not being so unpleasant, and it'll only be $12,000 to $20,000 to make it that way. I'll just do laundry down there, man. That's where I keep my boxes. I don't need it to be, I want the 20 grand. So there are more clients coming along that are starting to see the connection of, air quality matters and mold is bad. We're educating clients. And then a lot of them are coming to us educated on their own. So it's moving that way, but it is a much harder sell on every project because everyone works with a budget. I certainly do. I don't have my dream house. I'm working on it, but I'm not there yet. So when it starts to be a decision of, I'd love to get you that Alpine window package. It's going to be an extra 20 grand. And the windows will not visually be staggeringly different. It's just a performance benefit. That's still a hard sell, but we're working on it.
I learned in our earlier conversation that you and your partner Joe are licensed in the several of the sub trades. You're an electrician, right, and an HVAC tech, and Joe is a plumber. How hard was it to get competent at those things and become licensed in order to do them for clients?
Well, that was a really good decision or at least it's worked out to be a good decision. You never know at the front end. But Joe and I had gotten increasingly frustrated when we were working for the production builder. A lot of our work centered around fixing. I mean, as project manager, that's kind of what we were doing, go around, schedule stuff, but hey, you guys didn't do this right. I'm pointing out their mistake, but they're the expert. So that's a frustrating thing.
Sure.
And it's extremely frustrating when you're no longer working for someone else, you're working for yourself, and you're paying that guy's bill, and he just delivered the ductwork package that you agreed in flex instead of rigid. Well, that's not going to perform at all the same. I'm static losses all over the place. This all has to come out. And you only do that a couple of times before you're like, I don't want to have this conversation again. I'm redoing half this stuff. The details that are important to me, I'm having to fight way too hard for. And the other aspect of that is permitting. We have all the jurisdictions that we work in are they all require licensed trades. So our general contractor's license, which Joe holds, we can't perform electrical, plumbing, or ductwork under that license. We have to have a separate permit for those other trades. So we were also experiencing exorbitant fees on the front end because those guys know, we could probably, and I guess you could hire those guys to come in and inspect your work for a fee and you could still self-perform it. But that seems like a nasty workaround to me. Mm-hmm. We were already doing a lot of the work. Joe also came up in remodeling before we were project managers with the production builder. So we both had a lot of hands-on experience with basically all the trades, although not as much with the mechanical. And in fact, I do hold that license, but I am always quick to tell people that industry moves so fast and the technology is so cutting edge that we don't self-perform equipment installs. I run duct. I can run a manual J calculation and I can size duct, but I'm just not going to be up to speed on all the advancements in VRF and
the equipment.
Exactly. It's too specialized for me to keep up with it. But
did you guys have trouble passing those tests? Were they difficult?
They were difficult. In fact, it took me 2 times to pass my mechanical test. The way that it went, when we first started Catalyst, we had a third partner, my friend Jason Barr, great guy, structural engineer. When we started the company, we were able to get, in Kansas, you can get a contractor's license if you have an engineering degree. So we just used his license. It was easy enough. But he decided right after, maybe a couple years in, he wanted to go back to engineering. It's much better money, as you might imagine. So we needed to get the license for ourselves. And it seemed sensible if we were going to have one of us study to take the license, well, the other one should study and get a license too. So we started by having Joe study and pass the general contractors while I studied and passed the electricians, because that was always kind of my thing, my focus anyway, that and cabinet design. But anyway, we started with those, and we actually took time. We treated it like a job. Like, oh, it's 9 o'clock. We're going to the library. We're going to study for 2 hours. No, it's 2 o'clock. We're going to go study for 2 hours. And then after we secured the first 2 licenses, then the next year we decided, okay, this is great. This is how we should have always done it. We're going to self-perform the plumbing. We're going to self-perform the ductwork and mechanicals. And it was a big investment. In fact, I think each year, instead of paying $200 just to hold a license, we pay $1,000. And then we have to take multiple days off work every year to maintain those licenses with continuing education. But we both love going to those classes. I mean, we have really great teachers that are coming to the Midwest to share their knowledge with us. So it's a win-win.
I know what people are thinking who are listening to this program is like, how do you have time to do the sub trades? It's like it's more than a full-time job to be a contractor, and now you're going to do all the work. How the heck do you do it?
Well, what they're missing is the amount of lost time that you have to figure into your jobs. And granted, we're not a high volume builder. I'm not building 60 houses a year. We mostly do room additions, second story, blow out the back, third story, finished basements. That's the bulk of our work. It seems like all I'm doing lately is taking out load-bearing walls to make kitchens and dining rooms into one. We seem to do that project about 6 times a year. So we're a small company, we only have 2 guys working under us. So it's 4 total, Joe, myself, Quentin, and James. We basically are able to save so much time self-performing because we don't have to stop and start all the time. And we don't have to wait on someone to be available. So for what I would assume is the standard path for a lot of guys is, okay, on remodel work, I called my foundation guy. He got the foundation built. I called the framing guy. He got the frame up. I'm going to start on the wiring, I'm going to start on the ductwork. That guy's going to need 2 days. Well, he doesn't really. He needs about a day, maybe a day and a half. We can simultaneously perform all of our trades with our crews because, James has been apprenticing under Joe for years now, and Quentin's getting pretty close, a couple years in under me on the electrical side. We can just keep everything going all at once, and you don't have any of the slowdowns that are inherent to the trades not being on site at the same time. That plumbing pipe that needs to go there before the ductwork gets run through that hole, the plumber goes, "Hey man, my toilet's dropping right there. You've got to go in the next bay." All that stuff gets sorted out because you guys may have a different deal, but nobody gets MEP on residential plans around here.
What's MEP?
Mechanical, electrical, plumbing. Yeah.
So they're not drawn on there. You have to figure that out.
No.
Yeah.
It's always up to the trades to route that stuff. As long as I've been in the business, I've never seen a mechanical design yet.
I think that's pretty similar in residential generally, but those listening might have other opinions of that. I'm pretty sure in California, they probably have that all dialed in, but I think that's an oddity.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. It would be really nice. I know that my mechanical contractor would be a lot happier if that was on there, but that would just be less work for him if someone else was doing it on the front end. But he's really good at it, so it works out great.
That's interesting. I think that's a cool model. I have yet to meet someone who does that stuff in-house. I think it's pretty cool.
Thank you. I really enjoy it. It's super satisfying. There's no pointing fingers. Everything.
Yeah. It's your problem.
Exactly.
Part of what brought you to the show was to discuss the BS and beer movement and to promote the Midwest Building Science Symposium in Kansas City on September 16th. Can you tell me about those two things and how you're involved?
Yeah, I'd love to. I'm super excited about the symposium. But first the Building Science and Beer movement, it's so much fun. I don't know how I could be any luckier. So again, through Fine Homebuilding, Mike Maines did the Pro Home, I think, in 2016 with Mike Gerton. And I just love that house. To this day, I love that house. I still go back and reread that issue. And so as a result of that, I kind of started keeping my eye on Mike's other stuff. And he started putting on Instagram these BS and beer get-togethers. And I was lamenting to a guy at a contractor licensing class that, God, I'd really like to go to one of those, but I can't make the commute. Maine's a hell of a drive from Kansas City. And just to sit around and have a beer and talk about building science, that's a tough sell, even on a vacation with the family. And so, this guy, Joe Nichols, who runs Thrive Building Solutions here, he's a performance consultant. He goes, "Well, we should just do one here." Like, yeah, sure. And I went back to class and I didn't think anything about it. 2 days later, I get this email. So I set it up for the 22nd. Is that good for you? Okay. And so we started working together on this, and I sent Mike an email, got his address out of FHB or something, or I Instagram messaged him, and he gave me this packet of, here's every topic we've ever discussed. This is how we run our meetings. These are the pitfalls that we've experienced. This is something that you might want to consider if you're trying to do it this way or that. And he basically gave me the keys to the kingdom. And then it became very easy to succeed. So we scheduled our first BS and beer meeting, I think, in April of last year. And we decided it would be tough to get people out. So we offered to buy their beers. And it turns out if you offer free beer, people tend to show up.
I'd be there.
Well, then I guess I'll see you in September for the symposium because we're offering free beer then too. We've had meetings every month since. Our method's a little bit different than Mike's in that they just kind of roll out the whiteboard and a topic and then get into it and go straight to discussion. We feel like, again, we're a little late to the party here in the Midwest, so we tend to start every show with a presentation. Bring in someone with expertise in a topic and let them kind of bring everyone up to a baseline understanding, and then we can have that great discussion. Mm. So, and actually, again, Fine Homebuilding's been partnering with us since COVID to host these online, and we've kind of even broadened the spectrum of who we can get in to teach us. It's been really nice. Rob Watzek's been fantastic helping us out with that, and we've had some really good content. So that BS and beer thing has just morphed into other opportunities. When you guys hosted the summit last year, I mentioned at my BS group, I was like, "Hey, who all wants to go? Because we got to go. This is all the Mount Rushmore people, almost all the Mount Rushmore people of building science in one place for a couple of days." And we couldn't get anyone to go. It was like, "Oh, it's super far. It's hard to get to. Southbridge doesn't have a big airport. there were excuses on excuses. You know how contractors are; they want to stay busy and make money. So it was just Joe and I. We went out to the summit, and it was as formative as that class with Mark. I couldn't believe how much that changed the way I wanted to work. So when we got back, and I was telling the guys and gals in our group about, hey, this is how it was. This was amazing. You got to go to this next year. Life-changing stuff, man, just incredible. They said, well, it'd be nice if we could do something like that here. That's true. That would be nice. And so we started working on it. And we talked to Jake Bruton and we talked to Steve Basic, and they agreed that they would be happy to come to the Midwest and eat great barbecue and drink excellent beer and spend a day talking about the control layers. So we hatched this plan to host the first annual Midwest Building Science Symposium at Boulevard Beer on September 16th. And yes, the beer is free. And yes, the best barbecue in the land will be free. So
are you planning to still have that in person, that event?
We are. We were very fortunate because of Jake and Steve's relationship with Huber. They got involved and started talking to us about a ticketless event. So they basically said, look, we'll cover the cost, whoever wants to come. And frankly, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Dan Edelman of Rockwell, who basically helped me plan the event from the outset and was the first sponsor on board. So the sponsors have rolled in and they're covering the cost to make it free to attend. And we are going to still do it live, but we did have to scale back, for public safety. We had originally figured somewhere upward of 200 people, and the venue's rated for 425. So I was talking to them. I was like, how can we do this and make people safe? And we figured out a seating plan where everyone can be socially distant, 6 foot between. I think I told you at the beginning of the podcast that we have really low numbers here in the Midwest. We're really lucky. Things have not been crazy. They've been trending down. And we have Huber providing buffs, to cover nose and mouth, which will be required to be worn when not eating or drinking. But yeah, we're going to be 6 foot distant inside. And there's a fantastic balcony that overlooks downtown Kansas City, right off of the brew house. So we can actually open the doors and have excellent dilution for your air quality nerds. We're very confident that the event will be safe and fun. And it was really important to me to make sure that we got together live, because that's what's been missing. And frankly, most of my peers are all out in it all day anyway. We're at greater risk at Home Depot or Lowe's than we are probably anywhere else except maybe the grocery store of infection. And with us, hand sanitizer stations, the spacing, we're doing everything we can to make everyone feel as safe as possible, because public health is a priority.
Do you have your guest list filled, or can people still sign up for that?
Oh, no, we have openings. We haven't hit our 100 max yet. So if they would like to go to bsandbeerkc.org, that is the nonprofit that we founded so we could do this event. And there's a registration link in there. You do have to click a waiver that you'll allow contacts from the sponsors. They want to be able to let you know about their products. But other than that, there's no cost to attend, and we do have openings. And we're really excited to invite a lot of great people to the Midwest to hear these guys speak and to have a good time at the brewery. I know like Randy Williams is coming down from Minnesota. Matt Blomquist is coming down from Taylorville, Illinois. These are guys that probably your readers and listeners might already know of. Armando Cobo, who's big on GBA, he's coming up. It's really going to be a fantastic event. I would encourage anyone who can make the journey to join us, because as much as a learning experience, these events are just a really, really good time. And with you guys not being able to have the summit this year, hopefully you can have a little taste of it here in the Midwest.
We are going to have the summit, but it's going to be held virtually is the next step in that. So
you just blew my mind. I was all excited. I was like, I don't have my travel plans. You're killing me, Patrick. I'm a little bit zoomed out. I know that that's not the right thing to say on a Zoom call with friends, but I think everyone's experiencing a little bit of screen fatigue. And so I will be at the virtual summit because it's too good to miss. But man, I'm excited to see a few friends in person.
That's the best part, right? That's the best part. This is my favorite question of the whole show, and I ask everybody, can you tell me about your own home? Are there any building science problems you're either happily or unhappily ignoring? Because most of us have them, right?
Yeah, I have to shed a number of tears every time I think about my own home. I am no different than most contractors. The cobbler's children have no shoes, that whole deal. Nothing's ever quite done around here. And with the birth of my second child, my daughter, who is now 7, we needed more space. I have a 2-bedroom ranch style house built in the 1950s, which is very common around here. Single car garage that's big enough for 2 ample sized bicycles, but no cars that are manufactured anymore. So we had been steadily remodeling that. With my son's birth, we added the finished basement to give us a little more space. But I don't have any bedroom for a little girl, 7 years ago. And so we decided to take the roof off and go up. And that's really a great idea. If your wife is pregnant and you're thinking, she doesn't really have a lot going on, why not destroy everything around her?
Right.
And yeah, there's a number of funny stories with that. But the building science failures were because of the time constraints and the budget constraints. I got OSB sheathing and pin punched house wrap because I didn't know the difference between woven and pin punched back then. So I've got a woven house wrap, a pin punched house wrap with no tape to make it a decent air barrier, which it wouldn't be anyway with the pin punches. But at any rate, that's my greatest building science failure. Is I had all the siding torn off the house. I did insulate from the exterior because there was no insulation in the original cavities downstairs. And then of course my new upstairs. I have no air sealing detailing on my house. It's an abomination.
Welcome to the club. I'm so delighted to hear someone else with.
Yeah, it's my badge of shame. Is it the albatross? Isn't there some old poem about carrying an albatross around your neck? That's my albatross. Across to bear is my poorly air sealed home. I think it's 9 ACH 50.
That's terrible.
Yes, it is. Yeah. With a little bit of more work in the rim joist, I might be able to get it back down to 7. It's mainly a weather stripping gasket failure at my garage door that would be, a good half-hour project that I don't ever have time to do.
I know, man. It's all those little things that would make such a difference that, there's other crises, right?
Yeah, the client stuff always seems to come first, much to the wife's chagrin.
Well, it has been a pleasure talking with you, Travis.
The pleasure.
Do you want to plug your building science symposium once again?
I would love to. In fact, the quick link is bit.ly, bit.ly/MWBSS /event /registration.
What's the .org address again?
Yeah, it's bsandbeerkc.org. And I think maybe I didn't send you the links. I'll send you the links to put in the show notes. I'm sorry. I botched it. That was my only responsibility.
Well, we're going to get it done before this goes live, so don't you worry, man.
Thanks so much for doing that. I really appreciate you guys, not just today, but for the many years of entertainment, not just in the written word in the magazine, but I haven't missed an episode of the FHP pod. You guys have taken up the mantle of Justin and Brian and Rob and really run with it. I love what you guys are doing. I'm excited about every week. Thanks so much.
Thanks, man. Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for Travis for joining us, and thanks to all of you for listening. Please remember to send us your comments, questions, and suggestions to fhbpodcast@taunton.com. And please like, comment, or review us however you're listening. It helps other folks find the podcast. Stay safe, everybody. Happy building. Keep craft alive.